Super excited to announce a new experience on Creative Live. It's called Fast Class. You've told us that you're busy and sometimes it's hard to dive into a full class from start to finish. So essentially, we're now giving you a shortened highlight version of our top Creative Live classes. You can always dive into the full class with 5, 10, or 15 hours of great content. But now, if you're just looking to focus on a few of the highlights or want to be able to skip quickly to something that really interests you, you can now get a shortened fast class version of that class. We're also thinking this might be able to help you explore a new craft and save time while doing it. This is a great tool to curate your learning experience to help create the life that you seek. So you're probably thinking, great, how do I access this new experience on Creative Live? That's easy. All you have to do is be a subscriber to the Creator Pass, and then all this is yours. If you're feeling isolated and looking for creative connection, try tuning into creativelive.com/TV. That's where we've got a 24/7 live stream from the kitchen counters.
I can do that backlit shot that I really like to do.
From the studios and living rooms of many of the world's top creators, where we're doing musical performances, Q&As, cooking shows, virtual book tour events, drawing, spoken word poetry, and more.
Life passed me by waiting for an invitation when the world is greater than my nation or my occupation. Be someone you've never been. You feel all that adrenaline? It's medicine.
It actually helps me feel like my days are more purposeful.
I hope that out of this deep pain will come some collective growth.
Dive into Creative Live TV today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creative Live. I'm your host, Kenna Klosterman, coming to you from my home north of Seattle to your homes wherever in the world that is. Super excited today to bring you another live episode of We Are Photographers. That is our podcast here at Creative Live, where we take you into the minds and lives of photographers, filmmakers, industry game changers. It's really a podcast about who we are as human beings, as creatives, and why we do what we do. So today I am very happy to have with us Kesha Lambert. Kesha is joining us all the way from New York, and she is an award-winning photographer and educator. She's been published in a lengthy list of magazines, and I can't wait to dive into all of that. So Kesha, welcome to Creative Live.
Thank you, Kenna. Thank you so much for having me and for the warm welcome. Excited to chat with you.
You are so welcome. So first of all, I hope that you and your family are doing well. Of course, we are recording this in the COVID times, and we're recording this live on Creative Live TV. Which is our new channel where we are bringing folks to the kitchens, living rooms, home offices of creatives and entrepreneurs all over the world to both entertain and inspire and connect us all. So if you are tuning in right now to the live version and you're on Creative Live TV, click on open into the chat. if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, let Kesha and I know where it is that you are tuning in from. And Lee, I'm going to give you a hi because he says, "Can I get a hi from the UK?" So you got one. So Kesha, where are you and how's your family doing?
We're well. I have no complaints. Everyone is in good health. We are staving off cabin fever with a few walks here and there, just keeping busy, finding ways to entertain the boys outdoor and inside, and everyone's in good spirit. We've slowed down tremendously, and it's been good.
So I think that's a couple of important things there. You're a portrait photographer, but you're also a wedding photographer and an incredible wedding photographer. Your work is stunning. If you all haven't seen Kesha's work, go check her work out at her website or her Instagram at Kesha Lambert. And you're a mom of 3 boys, right? And 2 of them are twins. So here you are. Wedding industry is kind of slowed down, I would say, for right now. And you've got the kids at home. How is that? What are you doing in terms of your business, and how are you approaching that right now?
So with the business, there's always a ton of things that you can be doing for your business, and so I've been doing that. Part of continuing to run the wedding business is that we are still talking to couples planning their weddings. So aside from contending with our existing couples who need to postpone and make changes, we're also still having virtual consultations with people having 2021 and 2022 weddings, and so that's keeping us busy. There are a ton of things you can do in terms of the back end things like marketing and just getting your branding updated and things like that. So I'm working on a lot of projects for the business, and that's been keeping me busy.
Good. I mean, I think that's the important thing is that there are many different facets if you are a business owner that you can be working on during these times. Well, I want to go back in time to one of the things that I read about you. I love to travel, and I always think that this like destination wedding photography job is like, man, that sounds dreamy. And then I saw that you photographed a wedding at Mount Everest.
No.
No, that wasn't you.
No, that wasn't me. I wish. that sounds pretty awesome, but it wasn't me.
Okay, so I was looking at so it was a description. How about Norway? Was it Norway?
Oh no, maybe
No?
It was one of those articles that pulls together like a list. Like, was it like one of those list articles?
Yes, it was. No,
the destination.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, scratch that off.
Yes.
We can rewind.
I have been to some really awesome destinations for weddings. I have.
So that's what because you photograph all over the world. So yes. I'll have to figure out who that was, and we'll get their story later. But yes. Tell me about your first then destination wedding, because again, like this concept of travel plus photography, like what was that experience like for you? Was it any different than your weddings here, or was it exciting for you, or what? How did that go down?
So it is always exciting to get to go to a destination that's outside of. We're in the New York City tri-state area, so we frequent a lot of the same venues. So it's very inspiring to go somewhere that you're not frequently going to, and seeing beautiful new places, interesting new places. So that element is always exciting. One thing I learned coming into this, because I think as a photographer, we very much would love to just take beautiful photos all the time and not think about back-end things. But one of the things I learned very early on after doing my very first destination wedding, that was in the Bahamas at Atlantis. And I quoted it too low. And it wasn't like, I didn't educate myself before providing this quote to this couple, wonderful couple. But what I learned very early on, I learned a lesson very early on is that on the business side of it, after turning down um, a wedding for the same weekend that wasn't on their wedding date, but was actually the day before their wedding, I learned that it really is, while it is exciting and fun and inspiring for the creative side of me, for the business end of things, I really needed to get my ducks in a row and really kind of put some thought and actually calculate numbers in order to price these weddings out correctly.
Oh, that's a very important lesson learned,
Yes.
especially, it takes that extra time and effort and getting there and all of that. And I mean, I think I want to go back then to you starting your photography business, as people may not know that you were a lawyer as well. So you're a mom, you're a lawyer, you're a photographer, an educator. And I read that because of course first you think like, oh, did you take the big leap and say, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do this. But I read that your story was a little bit different in that circumstances happened and you realized like a change of mindset where it was like you didn't have to follow the mold that maybe you thought you did when you were growing up. So can you tell us a little bit about being a lawyer and then being a photographer?
Sure. So it's interesting. Both have, I'd say, photography a little earlier on than becoming a lawyer, but both have been kind of like, this is what I wanted to be when I grow up as a child. And I come from a very strict West Indian background, Jamaican parents, education first. And so you have to do something with your life. You have to have a profession. And so it was without question, that's what I was going to do. And I did it. And I just, while I love practicing, photography was always there. I never for one thought that I would be earning a living with photography. It was a creative outlet for me. It was my peace of mind, fun. And then it started to grow into more while I was, while I had my legal career, it started to grow into more. It started to become freelancing and side hustle and all that wonderful stuff. But I still never made that like a bold decision to say, this is what I'm going to do. I got a boot in the butt out of what I thought was a very secure job during the financial downturn. And I was expecting twins, and it just kind of made me. My initial reaction was scrambling, like, what are we going to do? And I realized it made me I got to a point of like calm where I just started to rethink everything. And our family was growing. We had one son and two on the way. And it just changed my mindset about what I wanted to do.
Well, I always find this really interesting because I think a lot of us out there feel that if we're working for somebody else, often that is the secure thing. And of course, maybe not at the current moment right now in this current environment, but and yet especially if you're in a profession where you're, like you said, a lawyer or working for a big company or what have you. I worked in corporate marketing and it was like, oh yeah, it's secure, and yet nothing is. And so coming to that revelation, I think you wrote something about the sentiment being like, I didn't need permission to go ahead with my dream job. So was there a moment when you like had that revelation, and what did that feel like for you?
It was very freeing because when you get the rug pulled out from under you, it was this aha moment that this was the serious way of making a living. This was the more reliable way. And photography, you know, you look at the stats for what career success is for the average photographer, and it doesn't look so promising. But that aha moment was a sort of freedom for me to, and a green light for me to start doing what I wanted to do. And I never looked back. I wasn't the most organized in the world in the beginning. The saying is you jump and build a plane on the way down. That was me. But that I needed the rug to be pulled out from under me for me to have that realization. And I still believe that whether you work full time or you're an entrepreneur, business owner, self-employed, that you should be diversified, because if anything, this pandemic has taught us is that everything is equally insecure or equally secure, if you want to frame it in a positive light. They're all left. The playing field is level. Yep. And I think that should, you know, you have one life to live, and you don't want to come to the close of that life having questions about what if or regret. And I think there's a sense of freedom in pursuing the thing that makes you feel fulfilled. And it is not easy all the time. I've had many successes, but I've had many, many lows. And but that motivation of doing something that I really truly gives me a sense of fulfillment is what helps me to push through the lows. And it's why I'm still here years later, working for myself.
Can you give us a story about one of those lows and how, like, was there a moment where you thought, like, I am going to throw in the towel? But you, like, what motivated you to work through that?
So very early on, and even when I first started out, it wasn't my very first wedding. So my very first wedding that I shot lead was back in 2011. It still wasn't a full-time wedding photographer. It wasn't my focus, but it was the first time that I went out and on my own and lead shot a wedding. And that went well. And it gave me all this confidence, like, wow, I can do weddings. You know, I really started marketing myself for weddings more, made that my focus. And I got results and started booking more couples. And one of the things that I encountered is an unhappy client, someone who looked, you know, received their photos and they were just terribly disappointed with the outcome. And as an artist, that's a tough pill to swallow. We are, as much as, you know, we'd like to say that we aren't, we want our couples to be happy. That's the end goal, for them to be blown away, for them to be happy. But on top of that, it's also like a bruise to your mojo when someone is like, oh, what is this? And one of the things I realized, and one of the reasons why I'm able to still be here, is that, and one of the results, I'm skipping all over the place, but one of the results of that, getting that feedback from that couple, was that I started to adjust myself as an artist and started trying to people please. I started to try to do the things that I thought they wanted instead of defining myself and coming into my own and developing as a photographer. And that was it was a mistake early on, because what would set me apart, you know, being a wedding photographer in business is a balance between providing your art and also making people happy. But being true to your art is what will draw the people to you. And I had to learn that through trial and error. And the reason that I'm still here doing what I do, the reason why I would say I'm pretty brave in my work. I'm who, even if and I spend